Hello, my friends, dear family and colleagues. I have probably made a video on this topic. I thought I made an article, but I don't see it. And I was asked to address this issue since I have several requests about it. And here we are talking about osteoporosis. Now, how do you know that you have a problem with osteoporosis? Well, your bones become brittle. So until you break your bone, you will not know it. And bone should be quite sturdy and not break easily. So when you slip and your bone breaks, well, most likely you have osteoporosis. Now, doctors can figure this out. They can test you for it. But what does that matter, since doctors cannot help you to regain the bone density? They claim, oh, well, we are going to give you bisphosphonate and, the pill called Fosamax. And, this is going to stop the progress of it. Then you take pills, you feed yourself with the pills, and one day you slip and your hip broke on 10 places. Obviously didn't work, but doctors go, well, I'm so sorry, we did the best we can. Well, this is a typical what doctor can do, because they don't understand squat, because everything we have been told in medical school is inverted, and we are misled in the wrong direction. So actually what doctors do, they continue poisoning you and create chronic diseases through suppression of symptoms, not realizing that symptom is actually warning, or it's a part of the healing process. So what is happening with osteoporosis? In the past, it was nobody even paid attention to it. It's a kind of a newer age disease, and now younger and younger people have this problem. Is it disease? No, it's not disease, but it's a health issue because you can easily break bones. What makes bone structure? Well, they are collagen fibers, and like armature, like a steel in a concrete, and then the deposit that creates the mass is mainly calcium, but also other salts. So what happens is our bones, when we are kids, they go from cartilage into bone, and they strengthen up. And they're pretty strong. But then as we are getting older, they start weakening down. And not only weakening, but they can become quite porous, and they can easily break. I mentioned when I talk about hypertension that my grandfather had high blood pressure most of his life. I know him very well since he was 60, because before I was living in the Czech Republic, and when we came back, he was older then. And he always was in pain because of other problems, and was given painkillers, and his blood pressure was always high, and he died when he was in his 90s. But he didn't die from any problems supposedly caused by high blood pressure. No heart attacks, no blood vessels problem. But he died from inability of moving. He could not go to the bathroom because he would stand up and his bones would break. That's how brittle they become. Why? Well, partially was the medication that he was on for high blood pressure and painkillers, but big part of the problem was diet. What happens when we have brittle bones? Well, bone is part of the body and also responds to frequencies. For bone to be strong, there has to be necessity. So you can be healthy, relatively slim person, and your bones may not be very dense. The heavier you are, the denser bone you are going to have. We call them thick bones. Well, I was never heavy, and especially when I was young, I was muscular. But when I had a motorcycle accident, I was 28 years old. I destroyed my bone, my leg, and especially shin bone. And when I was undergoing surgery, which was very long, 8 hours, because they had to piece mosaic together. After surgery, doctor told me that he has never, and he was just about to go in retirement. So a lot of experience, and he was, the leader of orthopedic surgery center in New York City. And he said that he had never in his life seen such a thick ivory. So I was not heavy. I was muscular, but not heavy. And my bones were extremely dense. Why? Well, because I was involved with the sports with high impact. Downhill skiing. When you're in squat position, flying down, hitting bumps, and your legs work like shock absorbers, it's a bang, 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 bones are receiving a lot of pressure. So my weight, speed, and this impact, constant impact, stimulates bones to get stronger to withstand this impact. And then when I was not skiing, I was in martial arts, Tang Sudo, and also going through tournaments. And this is very often bone on bone. When somebody is blocking you, some of these tournaments before there were so-called no contact, so there is no protective gear. And you want to do roundhouse kick to the head, and the opponent does this, bang, or does this, so it's arms on a shin bone, pow. So the bone is getting stronger and stronger. I have explained through another video talking about skin, that you can get such a calluses that skin turns into bone. Again, martial artists, let's say those who are using the side of the arm to break bricks and ice, if they do it a lot, this whole thing becomes like a nail, like a hoof. Looks like a hoof. Okay, so those who break with a fist, this whole gets calcified. Very often these martial artists, these experts, these old-timers, they cannot even move their hand. It's locked in a position, and it's like a hoof. And they, of course, they're very dangerous, these people. You don't see them on tournaments. They'll go through you. Every time when you see tournament and champion and I'm the best, the best ones do not participate in tournaments. Now, when we are talking about bone, why people suffer from this? Well, one thing is noticeable. If you have your blood checked for calcium, and if there is a calcium in your blood, most likely you have osteopenia. Being it strong, calling osteoporosis, or just osteopenia, or mild loss of calcium. Bones are becoming more hollow. It is not that there is not enough calcium in the blood. If you are urinating it, the calcium level of the blood is over the limit, so body eliminates the surplus. You always have calcium circulating as one of the minerals. And why now this calcium is eliminated and is not deposited in the bone? Well, because bones are same like the rest of the body, especially muscles, always adjusting to present circumstances. So if you are not, some people said, well, I'm not heavy, I have just heavy bones. You are not going to have heavy bones if you don't have weight on you to create necessity for the bones to become thick and big. Unless, again, you are doing high-impact exercises like I was, but then again, you don't complain on it because you don't look heavy. You just look muscular. And the fact that you have a thicker and very dense bones, well, this, you don't even know about it. But people, they said, well, I look heavy, I just have heavy bones. Well, We saw many people videos from concentration camps, and many of those people that went there, they were heavy people with heavy bones, and then later on you see them with these bones like this and no muscle. Well, the lighter you are, the necessity for strong bone is not there, and body is going to start slimming the bone down. Body is perfectly created machine. It will self-maintain, self-heal, and self-adjust itself. And the process is constantly going on. Bodylifter, weightlifter, if they stop lifting weights, they look like beer drinkers. They just look big and floppy, and then muscles start falling off, and it's all only fat left. I lost all my muscles after my motorcycle accident, being 2 months in a hospital laying on my back and not eating, because the hospital food, I mean, they're supposed to heal people. They kill them with the diet, with the food they give them. The only thing I could swallow was the orange juice, and even that was toxic. The rest of the food was non-edible. And because I was not eating and my body needed to heal, so it will first use the little fat I had, then it started using my muscles for energy. And I lost muscle. I was like Mahatma Gandhi, like this when I came out of hospital, pale. My skin was I could rip my skin. Thick layers of skin was just peeling off. Why? I was poisoned with medication. All these antibiotics, all these painkillers. Terrible stuff. And of course, my bones were getting thinner. And I rebuilt them later on. So what is actually happening? Well, bone has two different types of cells, osteoblast and osteoclast. Osteoclasts are cells that melt down the bone. Since the bone is basically accumulation of minerals, so if you have a hard sediment in your kitchen or where you wash dishes, then you can scrape it out. It's like calcium, it's a mineral deposit. Or you can take lemon juice or vinegar, sprinkle it there, leave it a little bit, and then you just wipe it off. Because acid is going to melt down. It basically dissolves the sedimented mineral. So these osteoclasts, they have acids. And if the direction, again, it's all controlled through genes and through the vibration. And if the message comes that bone can be slimmed down and should be slimmed down, or if you had a misstep and you develop little fissura, just a little breakage within a bone, not even visible outside, well, these cells immediately go. They do not redeposit, because that would leave a bad structure within it. Bone is perfect structure. And crack and deposit would leave wrong structure. You would lose the flow in it. And with change of pressure, the pressure in the bone would not be able to equalize, and you would be experiencing pain. So what is being done? Osteoclasts will release acid in the area. They will melt basically the minerals from there. Then the collagen fiber would either be repaired or replaced. And then osteoblasts go there, and osteoblasts have the buffer. The buffer, which is alkaline phosphatase, is released there. So the area is alkalized, the pH goes up to 9 and higher. So what happens when lymph goes there and carries the minerals with it? Well, the minerals start getting deposited there. Pop, 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 pop. I forgot the expression, but they sediment themselves. in the area and fill in the gap in between the fibers. Now, if the bone requires to carry more pressure, more weight, because we are getting heavier, well, more pressure again stimulates, it all goes again through genes. So gene figure this out, they get the vibration going, and they send the message, okay, we need this bone stronger. So the bone doesn't just go stronger like this. It goes, part of it is starting getting melted out, new fibers, more dense fibers, collagen fibers are being created, and then new sedimentation occurs. And this is why always when bone is being shifted, since first has to go the dissolving of the minerals before it can be redeposited, the level of minerals in the blood, especially calcium, rises. And then when it gets back into the bone, when everything is changed and pH of the bone has changed, it starts getting deposited. But if the pH of the bone is not changing, if it remains acidic or even neutral, well, there is no sedimentation. And since our cells constantly produce calcium, if they cannot use it, they have to eliminate it. So you find it in the urine. But finding calcium in the urine doesn't really bother our health experts because, again, they do not think. We are not programmed to think. We are programmed to obey. And we have been programmed with certain knowledge, which is not serving us very well. And we are told, look, if there is no, if you have osteoporosis, this means that calcium is missing, give more calcium. So it doesn't matter if you are going to see your allopathic doctor or your healer of, or even doctor of alternative medicine, you are going to be treated the same. Maybe Dr. Allopathic will give you Fosamax, and alternative will tell you, why you have to eat this and this because this has a lot of calcium, and you gotta eat this so you can absorb the calcium. You don't assimilate calcium that well. You produce it. But again, we have not been given this information, so we work with what tools we are given. And if you have a wrong tool, you cannot do the job. So again, I'm not blaming doctors. I'm just blaming them that even when they see what's going on, they don't pursue investigating why and do other things because we are being discouraged from doing it because when we do our oath to medicine, to pharmaceutical industry, we swear that we are going to do everything in accordance to what the trend is, what the pharmaceutical industry, which means the medical science, tells us. We are locking ourselves in complacency with the pharma, with cabal, not knowingly. We have no clue. I just knew when I had to play my allegiance to the medical field, to me it was a shock. Why? What if I discover something that works better than what I was told? No, you cannot do that. You cannot use it. You got to do what we tell you to do. Otherwise, you lose license. And without license, you cannot work. So, going back to the problem of osteoporosis, well, why my grandfather had such a brittle bones? His the food that he loved the most, and he ate it for every breakfast, and sometimes even at night before going to bed, was white coffee, a lot of milk, some coffee, of course, bread, chunks of bread soaked in this, and sugar mixed together. And I loved it as a kid. I was 9 years old when I lived in his house for 2 years. And I was really eating with him that stuff. I loved it. Well, but here, what do you have? You have a sugar, which is a lot of glucose, And, fructose is, as I explained, fructose is not the main issue here. It is always the glucose. And then you have a bread starch, another issue of a lot of glucose coming into the body. So when you start absorbing a lot of glucose, some of it will be used for energy, but the rest of it, the majority of it, it is going to be processed in the liver, transformed into fat, because we cannot store glucose. And we do not make glycogen from glucose. We make glycogen from fat, because that's how body is programmed. And again, it's a small amount that we should not be even using. It should be there as a booster fuel. But anyway, so when we are now transforming all this glucose into fat, the side product is uric acid. Now, uric acid acidifies and goes into the blood. Well, body has to protect itself because pH of the blood always has to be alkaline. So, and it has to eliminate the excessive level of uric acid. So it starts losing plasma, which means minerals, but since it has to keep blood alkaline, it will have to commission buffers to neutralize the acid. And the buffer comes from, there's very little of it in the blood. So it has to be commissioned from liver, because we use it a lot in liver for bile, and from bones. So instead of phosphatase being used in a bone, it is pushed into the blood so it can help as a buffer, keeping the blood alkaline, because that has priority over the bone. Which means that everybody who is eating carbohydrates, and especially carbohydrates and drinking coffee, because coffee also acidifies body tremendously, such people will have problem with osteoporosis, which means almost everybody. This is why our bones are getting brittle as we get older. Now it depends how much and how often you eat that stuff, and how much of the buffer you have to be using, especially if you don't have enough minerals coming in general. Then faster you run into these problems. Now they say, oh, women, that because they menstruate, they have more issue with osteoporosis. This is not true. Women love to, that they are pregnant, they really love to munch. They munch all day long, and they munch on the wrong things. And of course, this is contributing to osteoporosis. It's not the menstruation, it's not whatever it is, actually, the munching. Now, once when we have osteoporosis, can we repair this? Of course, it's a natural process. Body immediately goes and readjusts the bone to the environment, which means, I have one client telling me that she's following the protocol now for, I believe, a year or 2 years, but her bones are not showing any improvement, and doctor is telling her, well, if you are sitting all the time and moving very little and moving slowly, the pressure is going to be low on your bones, especially if you don't have much weight. So there's not going to be any impulse for strengthening the bone. The osteoporosis will probably stop unless you start losing more weight, because then the bone doesn't have to be strong. So if you correct your diet, you skip all the stupid veggies and get rid of coffee and carbonated drinks, which all acidify blood because of high sugar content, and other acids. I mean, Coca-Cola has such acids in it that they bore holes in the metal. And then you wonder, what's happening? I don't feel good. My teeth are rotting. Well, of course, you're putting acid on it that digs holes in them. So once when we stop poisoning ourselves and we start eating correctly, you will stop deterioration of your bones. But if you want to make them stronger, you either have to build up the weight, but even with this, you have to become active. You have to insert more pressure. You have to stimulate the thickening and strengthening of the bone because of necessity. The body is programmed to adjust to the circumstances, to the environment, and your environment changes also with your activity, which means walking may not be enough. You may have to do some jumping, bang, so you make this impact, and the genes right away receive the information. Ops, we gotta make this, reinforce this and reinforce that, and making this stronger and making this thicker. And this is what happens. Your genes are doctors. They do analysis and they do the treatment. But first you have to stop poisoning your body and feeding it or treating it correctly. Give it correct food and give it correct hydration. Always plenty of minerals, so that body can then obey the programs. And it will strengthen the mold. It will make it thick again, no matter what age you are. But yeah, older we are, the less we are prone not to move. We become sedentary. And then there is no need for the bone to be strong. So it is not going to be improving. You have to stimulate it with your actions. And trampoline is not the cure. It's soft landing on the floor. Just keep jumping. There doesn't have to be high jump. Just little jump, but then hard landing. Bang, 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 bang. This is what gives you the impact information. Okay, we got to strengthen this thing up. I hope that this was explained to your satisfaction. But I promise, I guarantee, no matter how strong is your osteoporosis or osteopenia, you can not only stop it, but you can rebuild the bones. Again, it's not a fast process because it depends on lymphatic circulation, which is very slow, and it is slower if the body is toxic because it gets stuck. It doesn't flow. When lymph is toxic, it is suppressed, so it does not bring too many toxins into the blood too quickly. This is why 7 Healers protocol should be obeyed correctly. Stop poisoning yourself with the cooked or with the raw vegetables. And besides hydration with plasma and eating correctly, you have to become physically active in a way that will stimulate the bone growth. And this is impact. And again, just jumping will stimulate your pelvis, your spine, your legs, but not your arms. So you have to know. If you are doing a job that requires the strength of the bone on your hands, well, doing that job, the impulse will come and your bone will start strengthening. But if the heavier thing that you are doing is lifting your coffee cup, well, it's not going to do much. So again, impact is what is necessary for the bone to rapidly strengthen. Rapidly means several months for bones. But it will do it. Okay, so love you all. God bless us all. And we continue. Namaste.